Okay, we got Kevin in Canada. Pronouns are he, him. Doesn't believe in God, but is still a theist or Taoist of some type. So what's going on, Kevin? What do you want to talk about? Welcome to the show. Are you there, Kevin?
And yeah, hi.
I'm sorry, Kevin. We had an audio glitch or whatever, so please start over. Welcome.
Oh, hi. I did the poll, and for the first time ever, I hit yes. I will, and it said, and I will call the show. So, yeah, so I am religious. I happen to think my religion is better than most theist religions. But yeah, I'm an atheist as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so
the poll was specifically why is your religion true and others are false, but now you're just saying yours is better. So I'll go with better. What is it that you believe? What is it that you believe that you think is better, from a religious point of view, I guess?
Well, from a religious point of view, is that I don't believe that there are gods that are telling us how to treat other people. There are general principles, and the principles conformed with the morality that I already had. My history is very similar to yours, except I was a Pentecostal instead of a Baptist. Was considering becoming a preacher, and but I did much the same as you. I studied other religions and thought, okay, now my religion objects to all these other ones. Does mine hold up the same way? And it really didn't. And I became a philosophical Taoist, and ironically, my Taoist friends had no problems with me identifying as a Christian. My Pentecostal friends had a really big problem with me identifying as a Taoist. Because as far as they were concerned, I was opening the door to hell.
Well, I would point out that if Daoism didn't have any, or Taoists didn't have any objection to you being a Christian, that to me seems like a flaw with Taoism, because if Christianity isn't true, and here's a philosophical system that doesn't care whether or not your beliefs are true, I would have objection to that. So what is it about Taoism that you consider to be true?
That there's generally the idea of Taoism, that there's generally a balance. There's the Tao, which is the way, kind of like the Force in Star Wars, and that it's easier to live in harmony with that way than to constantly fight it. And I think that, the basic tenets of Taoism, which are compassion, frugality, and humility, I think are something that's, I think they're worthy. And they actually, again,
I'm fine with, hang on, I'm fine with some of those concepts being worthy, but I don't think that maybe your notion of balance, I don't think that necessarily holds water. I often hear, like, you don't believe in karma, do you?
No.
Okay.
Not in any.
And so what is it about balance that you think is real and true? Because do you think, if there's no karma and there's no, force or agency that is attempting to balance, what is it that's balanced, and why is that the first thing you mentioned? If you just said, hey, my religion's about, compassion and humility, cool. So it's humanism.
Right.
But what is it about Taoism? What does Taoism add that you find value in that is true?
Well, again, for like most religions, it has like an emotional comfort, right? That's totally subjective. Again, it doesn't require any gods. But the thing is, it's like not a that basically when things happen, I mean, I understand there are serious flaws with Taoism. If you follow it to its sort of illogical conclusion, it creates a sort of fatalism that is not, helpful to anybody. But I think one of the things, the idea of a balance is that that there's a sort of self-corrective aspect to our societies and things like that. And if we go too far one way, then there will be a sort of correction. And it's not necessarily, I'm not saying it's a supernatural thing, whether it's, and I mean, we see this a lot in politics. I don't know if the States is the same, but in Canada, we have, politics swings one way for so long, and then it tends to swing back the other. And then, so we end up.
Are you trying to say there's like a universal equilibrium or something? That's kind of how I'm interpreting this?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's an equilibrium because it's not stable. I mean, it wobbles for sure. But there is, within humanity, I guess is, again, probably similar to humanism. I haven't studied humanism to any great degree. But there's a certain degree of stability in the long term.
I don't know. It seems, because I might just be misinterpreting what you're saying. Honestly, there might be confusion on my part, but like to me, I guess where I'm hesitant on that, it's like it sounds like you're ascribing like intentionality to like things that are just kind of have tendencies, and then we can describe those tendencies.
No, I don't think there's an intentionality. I just think that that's kind of the state of, because I mean, I guess that's why it's not a theist. There's no agency or intentionality or purpose to it. It just seems to be that we have, no, I shouldn't use the word seems, but there does seem to be an appearance of, I guess, the sort of the extremes eventually tend to balance out if they don't, at some point they tend to balance.
I don't know though about that, because that's not the case. And you go into certain hospitals, hallways of certain hospitals, and or depending on like, how all the information you have about the world. I don't know how you have access to even know it's such a balance is occurring.
It seems like there's a lot of cherry picking going on and a lot of a complete lack of specificity. You keep talking about these things are balanced. What exactly is balanced?
Well, I get it. Maybe I'm probably balance is the wrong word, but that there's sort of a middle way between the extremes of right, left, and I guess it's politically is the easiest, I guess, analogy to use, but that I would probably have. Yeah, you're right about the cherry picking, and I should probably think more about that, and maybe I could come up with a more specific answer.
Cool. Call us back when you get one.
To do that for sure.
Sure. Thanks, right. Kevin.
Thanks. Have a good one, Kevin.
Okay. Bye-bye.
It's interesting because I'd love to get into, because I'm not a Taoist, but not for any reason where I looked into Daoism and said, oh, this is hogwash. I never found anything that it added that was substantive. And for a lot of kind of non-monotheistic religions or doctrines like that, it just feels like they're never really specific enough. It's platitudes.
I was just about to say that.
And yeah, it's like there's some sophistry and platitudes, and it's like, it's when you think about politics, if it goes far enough one way, eventually it's going to come back. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. You would like it to be true if the world starts getting more fascistic. Fascistic, is that the right word? I'm going to go with it. Fuck it. Should be the right word. But if fascists get control, there's not really a mechanism outside of revolution to swing back the other direction. But the second you suggest that there is balance in something like that, you're necessarily what else could you be talking about other than either an agent or a mechanism that is, like karma. It's either a being or some mechanism. And if you can't identify the mechanism that is bringing balance, and you can't be specific about what it's bringing balance to or whatever, I don't. We're right back to why did you call it energy? Why did you call it supernatural? How did you determine it's balanced? But I don't know.